Before I begin this video, I'd like to quickly explain my sponsor, Beautiful Halo. Now, they're not a direct sponsor, which means I don't get paid from them per video I put out where I, advertise their stuff. But I am an affiliate, which is why I have those links in the description boxes of my videos. So as an affiliate, if you do click those links and happen to buy something from their store, I get a little something back from them. That's all. Just a little something. So yeah, that's another way to contribute to this channel. If anything on Beautiful Halo interests you and you want to buy it, so long as you get it through one of my links, I get a little something back from it. And they carry all kinds of stuff like anime merchandise, Japanese and Korean pop culture stuff, and even merchandise with like meme sayings and meme culture on them. There's some pretty nifty stuff on there and you should definitely check it out. Okay? Okay. Now, on with the rest of the video. Before I continue, I just want to let you know that this channel is still not monetized by YouTube. So if you'd like to support this channel in other ways, and you have the means and the funds to do so, there are ways to support this channel where you can get exclusive content that I can't post on YouTube, mostly due to the more mature nature of said content. You can find me on Patreon. That's where I post art by Koichi, some softcore stuff, sometimes cosplay, and I do streams and other interactions with my patrons. Plus there's an exclusive Discord that's a lot of fun. I also have an OnlyFans page. I have a free one which has some pay-per-view content. And it also links to my more explicit page, which is one monthly fee a month, but it gets you everything without having to pay extra, plus stuff you can't see on the free page. And one last way to support the channel and get stuff out of it is through my Gumroad Shop. There's a link to that in the description of my videos. You can buy these exclusive, not YouTube safe content things individually, so you can pick and choose what you like and what you want, instead of having to worry about a monthly subscription. You can just get everything a la carte. Isn't that neat? And of course, if you just want to support this channel but you're not interested in any extra content, I do take donations through my Ko-fi page, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page. So if you'd like to help that way, I would greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. Alright, that's enough of this out of sorts, and now on to the real deal of the point of this video. Let's get to it, shall we? Hello all, Kitti Minx here, and before I gather you all around the fire for some good old story time as I ASMR my life for you, I just have a few things to say. First thing is, I'm aware my content has changed quite a bit since I first started. First of all, it's definitely not as lewd as it once was, but that's mostly in part due to YouTube themselves cracking down on such content. They've age restricted those videos, meaning it's a lot more difficult for them to appear in the algorithm. And if I ever got monetized, they wouldn't qualify, despite a lot of those videos being among my most popular and getting a lot of views. So yeah, I've been erring on the side of caution ever since, instead of being outright totally lewd where it borderlines on, well, hentai levels. I do more implied lewdness on YouTube, if that makes any sense. That's what I'm aiming for now when I decide I want to do something in kind of a lewd fashion. And I know not all of you are happy with that because you enjoy my original uploads and you wish I would do more like that again, but with how much YouTube is cracking down, I'd rather be safe than sorry. And plus, well, I've been having a lot of fun with my more romantic and wholesome content. And that's because I'm just not the same person I was before when I first started doing these ASMR roleplays. When I first started, I wasn't in the best place mentally and physically and emotionally. When I made my first couple roleplays, one of which got deleted off of YouTube, I made them to appeal to people at my old job, to show them that I can portray different kinds of personalities and characters. Basically to show my skills as an actress, performer, entertainer, cosplayer, however you want to determine it, I guess. But because I had a friend who listened to those original videos and enjoyed them, she told me that based on the quality and the tingles she got from those videos, she told me to label them as ASMR, and thus more people started finding those videos, and my channel took off from there. But like I said, when I made my original videos, those first few months, I wasn't in a good place. I was very lonely indeed. So I greatly appreciated the fact that people were enjoying the content and leaving nice comments and such. It really meant a lot. And then I'm sure some of you noticed my content started changing, as well as my frequency of uploads. When I started getting more involved with my partner, D-Night, because now that I'm in a stable, healthy, loving relationship and in a good place in terms of family and physical and emotional support. I'm not feeling that loneliness as much as I did before, where I needed that constant feedback and validation with my content, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that's why my content now, even my semi-lewd stuff, differs greatly from my original uploads way back in the day. I hope y'all can understand why and don't fault me for it. Because, well, I'm glad to be in a better place, physically and mentally. Not to mention at the time when I was first uploading stuff, I wasn't in therapy or on any medication. But now I am, so things are a lot better. Anyway, at this point I'm sure you're eager to hear my life story. So let's gather around the fire, everyone, and I'll tell you all about it. And I apologize if I have to take water breaks. Talking a lot dries my mouth out and I get a bit thirsty. So apologies for that in advance. But anyway, let's gather around the fire and I'll tell you kind of a Cliff Notes version of my life. Because if I gave all the details, we'd be here forever. Plus I already did some detailed blog videos in the past where I describe periods of my life. You're free to look them up if you have the time and desire to do so. Anyway, and oh yeah, by the way, the reason why this isn't a Draw My Life is one, I don't have the tools to draw on the computer, and two, I don't really have the means to record myself drawing in person and having it go onto the computer. And three, all I can really draw are pencil sketch portraits of real people and animals. I can't really do things very stylized anymore. I'm a good 5 to 10 years out of practice with that, so yeah, this is an ASMR my life instead of a Draw My Life. So I hope you all enjoy it, even though I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible. So I guess I should start from the beginning. I was born in May 30 years ago to my mom and dad. My mom is a classic American woman from the South originally, and my dad is part Israeli. So 30 years ago they had me, but long before I was born they had marital issues, so when I was about 1 year old they got a divorce. So from that point on I saw my dad on weekends and some holidays. because even though my mom and dad lived in different states, the states were close enough together that it was easy to go back and forth. Now, my mom was the custodial parent, so she had me most of the time. And like I said, my dad only really saw me on weekends and holidays. However, as much as I love my mom, growing up wasn't the best. I was a very lonely child. She wasn't really the type of mom to get down and play with me or interact with me, especially when I was little. She got more involved as I got older. I'd say about 11 or 12 years old. But from when I was a toddler up till that point, she wasn't really involved unless it involved school or after school activities, which I had quite a few of on and off. But yeah, she was a pretty hands-off parent unless I did something to get me in big trouble. And unfortunately, she was the kind of parent to fully believe in corporal punishment. So when I did something she deemed bad, I often, had to suffer such consequences. And I've mentioned this on my Discord servers and to others. My mom is a nerd. She's an otaku and a bit of a weeaboo at times. She's always been into anime and manga and comic books and such. She's just a geek all around. So growing up, I was exposed to that kind of stuff quite a bit. But the only things I really got into at first when I was young were things like Pokemon, Digimon, Sailor Moon, Kimba the White Lion, things like that. Because I was tired of seeing all of my mom's and her friends' stuff always on the TV. It seemed boring to me at the time. But then I got older and I discovered anime for myself that I liked. Namely, of course, Inuyasha, because that was on Adult Swim. And also, Fullmetal Alchemist. I really got into that series. I even cosplayed from it. I cosplayed a lot starting from when I was about 13 or 14. Up until now. So yeah, I was raised in a nerdy, geeky family. At least when it came to my mom. I won't say much about my dad because I want to maintain his privacy, but I will say growing up we had a very good relationship. We always got along and shared common interests that were also geeky, but a different kind of geeky. Think more science and that kind of geek stuff. Well, back to my family life itself. When I was elementary school age, my mom met my stepfather, who we'll call Pops. And when I was about 8 or 9, my dad met my stepmom and married her a year later. So I wound up growing up with essentially 2 sets of parents. And then with my dad and stepmom, when I was in high school, they had a couple of kids. Well, they had twins, that's why I said couple of kids. So I have twin half-sisters. And they're very sweet, amazing girls. They're in high school now, which, to be frank, makes me feel pretty old. Back to my mom and pops. Well, they're both nerds in different ways. But Pops has always been good to me. He's an excellent second father figure. My mom was also the kind of nerd who did tabletop role-playing games like D&D and Champions and stuff like that. So when I was in like elementary school and part of middle school, she would often game with her friends during the week, leaving me alone. And when Pops came into the picture, leaving me alone with him. But that wasn't so bad. He always found things for us to do together that were fun, bonding experiences. So that wasn't so bad, but because my mom was so busy with her friends and busy gaming, she kind of ignored me a bit when I was a young child. And between that and her use of corporal punishment when I did things she didn't like, I unfortunately have been diagnosed with a form of PTSD now, which is a shame. But I will say, my relationship with my mother got better as I got older. She paid more attention to me and got more involved in my life. And I think that had to do partially with me getting into nerd stuff she liked, such as anime and cosplay and such. Which reminds me, when I was a kid, another anime I really liked, I was only able to see the subtitle version because it hadn't come out in the States yet, but it was called Kodomo no Omocha, or translated to English as Child's Toy. And when it was finally brought to America years later, it just got shortened to Kodocha. Very interesting show. You should definitely look it up. So anyway, as I was older, in late middle school and high school, my mom got more involved. She enjoyed helping me with my cosplays and going to conventions and such. Also, around the time I was 13, Pop's mom and I moved away from the state that was close to my dad to a state in the south. So after that point, I was only able to visit my dad and stepmom on some holidays and for a bit during the summer. But also after the move, I will say that may have contributed to my mom having a better relationship with me. Mostly because she was new to the area and had a hard time finding friends at first. But I will say, When I was young, living where I lived before, aside from my cousins, who I mostly saw when I visited my dad, I was a pretty lonely kid with very few friends. But things got a little bit better when I moved down south. I found friends I had common interests with, and they were really nice to me. Unfortunately, moving down south and being part Israeli, which, well, I'm Jewish. I was asked what church I went to, and when I said I didn't go to church, it was Jewish. A lot of bullies picked on me and harassed me for quite a while, to the point of physically assaulting me. That wasn't very good. But fortunately, my new friends stuck up for me. As for high school, it was so-so the few years I went. I had a couple of friends in person, but most of my friends were online, and we'd meet at conventions and such and cosplay together. So that's how I enjoyed my high school years. My high school online friends and I also used to roleplay online on sites like LiveJournal and message boards and such. Those were fun times. And, well, I graduated high school a couple years early. Did an associate's level of work at a computers and technological college, well, university. And then after that, I went to art school in a different state where I majored in film and minored in animation, which is why in my ASMR roleplay work I kind of take a bit of a filmmaker's approach to the writing and such. I had a lot of adventures in college that I won't really delve into, or else we'll be here forever, but it was when I hit college age that I started dabbling in adult work, such as selling saucy, raunchy pictures of myself and video clips. Plus, I was a go-go dancer and such at a popular nightclub in the area, which I do count as adult work, especially because I had to wear stuff that was pretty close to a bikini. And so that was my initial foray into adult work, and even after college I still did it on and off. I would do photo shoots where I'd go on these websites where I could sell the pictures. I'd record videos also to sell. I would take on paid custom content requests. And I also did some camming on and off for a few years. And as for my relationships, well, in high school, my relationships were with other girls. I was actually pretty sure for a while that I was a lesbian, because I was only interested in girls at the time. But that was in part due to a traumatic experience that involved me losing my virginity to a guy. So I think that had something to do with it. And even in college, I mostly dated girls, but eventually got tired of it because I realized a lot of times girls were full of drama, and I just didn't have the patience for all of that. And of course, during college, I experimented quite a bit with guys, and I guess you could say that was exposure therapy to get over what happened to me with that one guy in high school. You can definitely say I got around, and I won't say I'm not proud of it or anything, because it is what it is, and I was always very, very, very safe about it. I was perfectly clean and healthy and everything else. So, yeah. And then, after college, where I worked other jobs too, not just dancing, I was also a waitress and worked behind a cologne counter at a department store. I did a whole bunch of jobs to make ends meet. Especially because my roommate in my apartment during college didn't work and lived on a fixed income while she focused on school. But anyway, after college, I moved back to my home state down south. Did a little bit more schooling, but unfortunately got burned out, so I never fully finished. Maybe one day I will. Who knows? But I was able to reconnect with old friends and make some new ones, which was a lot of fun, especially because most of them were cosplayers. And we got to go on many, 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 many cosplay adventures together. Not just at conventions, but we'd meet at parks or downtown in the city or other locations and just hang out, take pictures, and just have fun with each other. Those were good times, and, well, one of those cosplayers I wound up getting a crush on, and I thought he reciprocated my feelings, but turns out we had a mutual female friend who also had a crush on him, and she whispered things in his ear. Not so nice things about me, despite calling me her friend, and he wound up no longer returning my affections and started blowing me off, which really broke my heart, to be honest, but it is what it is. And also, that apartment I lived in when I moved back to my estate down south got broken into which of course was fun times. They took all my electronics, including my computer with all my college portfolio stuff on it, and even my external hard drives, plus my TV and my collectibles and my disc collections. They just took a whole bunch of stuff. Fortunately, I had renter's insurance, so I was able to get some money out of that to at least replace the computer and the TV, but a lot of the other stuff was long gone, and there was no point in crying over it. But I did feel bad losing all that work. That really, really sucked. And not long after that, I went to a convention where I wound up meeting someone who I wound up dating for about 3 years, and we got engaged during that time. I already told the story about that person. That's my very, 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 very abusive ex. So feel free to look up that video. It's under my Storytimes playlist. It won't be that hard to find, and I don't want to reiterate what I already talked about. Plus, between losing that person I had a crush on and meeting my abusive ex, there was someone I was close to who passed away, which is very, very sad and unfortunate, because I love them quite dearly. But I wound up having a beautiful baby during that period of my life, and had them during that time with my abusive ex. And when the baby was a year old, I decided enough was enough. And I left that person. And after that, I dated new people on and off, but none of them were quite the right fit. We either had things that we were just too different to get along with, or they tried a little too hard to get close to my kid, to butter them up in hopes that they'd have a better chance with me, which I didn't exactly like. But also during the time I was with my abusive ex, partially because I wanted to, and partially because of payback, I got into doing adult photos and film again for companies and to sell myself. I don't know, I guess those kinds of things have always been a part of me ever since I became a legal adult. I don't know what to say about that right now, but yeah. Anyway, not long after I was filtering out those people who were not right, I did get involved in real sex work, as in full service, legal, luxury, companionship, which is why I went to Nevada frequently between the end of 2015 and fall of 2019. The first place I went to wasn't very good. It was in the middle of nowhere. So unless I marketed myself real good online and got appointments, business wasn't very good. Plus the owner was a complete jerk. Yeah, he wasn't very kind. Unless you buttered him up or got in bed with him. He did not grant you any special favors. And usually treated you like dirt. So yeah, after a year working that place, I left. And moved on to the place I worked at in Reno, which treated me a lot better. Even during the slow times, where business wasn't very booming. And I gotta admit, I enjoyed the work because I like making people happy. And I like making people feel good and feel special. And feel important and validated. Which I know is something I do now through my ASMR, but there's just something about doing it in person, you know? Anyway, during that time of me working that job there, and not long after my ASMR work picked up on YouTube, my partner and now husband, D-Night, and I started dating. Now, we had been friends since 2014, and we met at a con, or convention, I should say. Though one of our mutual friends insists we met in like 2010, 2011 at a convention party, but neither of us really remember that, so I'll just say we officially met in 2014. And I know this makes me sound like a bad person, but Dina and I first hooked up when I was still technically with my abusive ex. But I'm sure if you listen to my video about him, you'd agree that it wasn't that horrible of me to do so, you know? And so between 2014 and 2018, Dee and I were friends with benefits. We'd hook up on and off, usually when he wasn't in a steady relationship with someone else, in which most of those girls, he admits, were mistakes. But yeah, eventually in 2018, he pulled his head out of his butt and realized someone whom he had been close to all along really was the perfect, special person for him. So after 6 months of dating, where my older kid got to also really bond with him to the point where they now call him daddy and have pretty much forgotten about my ex. 6 months after we started dating, he proposed to me. And you can hear the proposal story, and another Storytime video I recorded. It's in the Storytime playlist. You can't really miss it. And then a little over 6 months after that, Dina and I got officially married. And we had a nice, quiet wedding at a courthouse where it was just our immediate family and a few close friends. But I still liked it. I liked it a lot. And I enjoyed the pictures that got taken during it. Though I will admit, we kinda jumped into getting married mostly because the health insurance I had through the ACA wasn't very good, and Dina wanted me on his military insurance, so that way I could get better care. But either way, we got married, and a few months after that, we went on a cruise for our honeymoon for a week. And it was a very nice cruise. We got to do all kinds of fun things, like go snorkeling and swim in the ocean. We got to visit these underground springs and these caves. I forget what they're called exactly, but they're in Mexico and they're very interesting. I wouldn't mind going back and really checking them out sometime. Plus, he and I had some, fun on the boat, if you catch my drift. And then, about a month or so later, after our honeymoon, we found out that I was pregnant with my second child. Which of course meant I had to stop taking my medication for my mental health. Mostly because I didn't want any chemicals going into my growing baby. Because my psychiatrist wasn't sure fully 100% that those meds were safe for pregnancy. So we agreed it was better to be safe than sorry. And unfortunately, once the meds that were in my system wore off, that's when my hiatus from not just YouTube, but pretty much all of social media happened. I just didn't have it in me to do it anymore. I just wasn't feeling up to it. I was feeling pretty anxious and pretty depressed and low during my pregnancy. Because those of you who don't know, I was diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder when I was in my mid-20s. So without my medication and therapy, my bipolar hit pretty hard during my pregnancy. So I hardly talked to anyone unless they lived in my immediate household or it was an absolute emergency. But in the end, it was all worth it because beginning of June, my second kid, my baby, was born happy and healthy with no complications. The only complications happened with me 2 weeks later, where I was rushed to the ER where they found a blood clot in my lung that they quickly went in to fix. And even now, I'm still on blood thinning medication for the next month or so to fully take care of it. And yes, I guess I should mention world events that have happened during my hiatus. Of course, as you all know, the world went crazy, so my folks came to the house D-Night and I have to work from home because the faster internet is in this house and not my mom's place. So yeah. And they're still working from home now. Though for my mom that might change in September. They may have her return to the office. I don't know yet. But Pops is still apparently working from home until January. But I am grateful to have them around because it does help with keeping an eye on the kids, especially because the older one hasn't been able to go to school since mid-March. But fortunately, the older one starts school next week. And don't worry, it's a small private school run by a church, so small class sizes, good for social distancing. I'm sure everyone will be safe and fine. And as for me, because I got put on blood clot medication, it meant I couldn't feed my baby anymore from my body. So I got the okay to go back on my mental health medication. And since being back on mental health medication, I've been feeling so much better. I'm not totally happy, but I'm content. And I get motivated to do things like, of course, do my ASMR and dabble in other things, as well as be an active parent in my kids' lives, as well as an excellent partner to D-Night. So yeah, I can definitely say the medication is helping. And as for my future, in terms of adult work, well, as I said before, I have an OnlyFans page where I post stuff like that. And I do take custom requests on there, so there is that. Just like how I take custom ASMR roleplay commissions. Anyway, I think that's about it. Like I said, I gave the Cliff Notes version so we wouldn't be here all day. I hope you enjoyed learning a bit about me and about my life. Sorry I wasn't able to draw this. I had an idea where I could have a speed paint by Koichi running in the background of her inking and coloring my new safe for work avatar persona, but Right now she's been so busy and stressed. I didn't want to put that extra pressure on her to try to record something like that. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this different kind of blank my life content. This ASMR my life content. And I reckon I will see you in the next upload. Remember, I love you all and to stay awesome. Mwah. Mwah. Love you all very much and catch you all later. Mm-hmm. And by the way, let me know your thoughts on this piece in the comments down below if you liked it, didn't like it, if it was your cup of tea or not, or if you just found it to be a nice, long, relaxing bedtime story. Anyway, yes, I'm definitely done now. Stay awesome, everyone, and I will see you in the next upload. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for